Speed Vision's coverage of Formula One is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at MBUSA.com, and by Bridgestone, a grip on the future.
Welcome back to a very hot and stuffy Hungaroring, where the field is now set. The roll-off will come in about 15 seconds. There is Mika Hakkinen starting from 6th place. Only twice this year has he been further back. That would be 8th on the grid at Austria and Canada this year. Now, Michael Schumacher went over a curb and into a gravel trap before taking his place on the grid. They replaced the barge boards, and his technical director, Ross Braun, had a thorough look underneath the car. So it appears that everything is all right for the pole sitter and world championship leader. And with that, now we turn to our Lexus starting grid. Michael Schumacher, an imperious pole, 0.8 of a second over his arch rival David Coulthard. That's the biggest gap we've seen all year, but Coulthard was quickest in the morning warm-up.
In third spot, Rubens Barrichello, also just over 0.8 of a lap slower than Michael Schumacher. And alongside him, Ralf Schumacher, also qualifying well in the Williams BMW.
On row 3 will be Jarno Trulli, who is pondering his future with either Jordan or the Renault team next year. Next to him, Mika Hakkinen. As I told you, not the kind of qualifying performance the Finn wanted.
In seventh spot, Nick Heidfeld, who had to abort 2 runs, one with a spin and one with traffic. And alongside him is Juan Pablo Montoya, who just could not find a good balance in the car, and he was still 8th in the warm-up this morning.
On to row number 5. Kimi Räikkönen in demand. He could be a Sauber driver next year. He could be with Ferrari. He could be with McLaren. At any rate, he is 9th on the grid next to Jacques Villeneuve, a former world champion.
In 11th spot on the grid is Villeneuve's teammate Olivier Panis, who's been quicker in every session except the one that counted yesterday, where he had electric problems and a spin. Alongside him, John Alesi driving the Jordan Honda for the first time in 12th spot.
Back to row 7, all Jaguar, and they expected better this weekend after Eddie Irvine's 3rd at Monaco earlier this year. But Pedro de la Rosa, the Spaniard, out-qualified his team leader. They start 13th and 14th.
On row 8 is Fisichella and Frentzen. Fisichella and the Benetton going a little bit better than of late, and Frentzen, of course, having to step down, quite honestly, into the Prost Acer.
Back to row 9, where Jenson Button, and with 3 engine episodes on Saturday alone, starts 17th next to Fernando Alonso, going in the other direction for the Minardi team.
On the 10th row, Luciano Berti in the second of the Prost Aces, a bit disappointed. Alongside him, Enrique Bernaldi in the first of the Arrows, who out-qualified his more experienced teammate.
And on the 11th and final row, Jasper Stappen, who, as I mentioned earlier, had to qualify the spare Arrows. He'll start next to Tarzo Marquez with a new titanium gearbox in the Minardi. Now the field comes set. The right side of your screen, the column led by this man, Michael Schumacher, has the clean part of the racetrack. At the Hungaroring, it's all about getting into turn 1, and that man, David Coulthard's job will be to get there before Michael Schumacher. He must finish ahead of the German if he is to keep his title hopes for 2001 alive. Here come the lights. Schumacher and for Rubens Barrichello behind, who will get past Coulthard, dropping the Scotsman to 3rd at turn 1. Jarno Trulli touches wheels with Nick Heidfeld. Oh, and someone went straight on. One of the Jaguars.
One of the Jags off at turn 1. One of smoke and dust. Whoa, another car off going to 2-2.
Eddie Irvine is done.
Boy, oh boy, they were hopeful this week. They really thought they were going to... Fernando Alonso that went off on the approach to turn 2 after a good qualifying run.
Now climbing the hill. Long right-hander. And now the twisty part that Sam Posey talked about earlier.
It just turns and turns and turns here for about 15 seconds worth of driving.
Nick Heidfeld making a great start there, which of course this track is so vitally important, running in 4th spot there in front of Jarno Trulli.
Look at Michael Schumacher scoot away from his teammate Rubens Barrichello.
Any damage that might have been done in that brief off course in the warm-up does not seem to have been hurting, is not hurting him at all right now.
Well, of course, this is Michael Schumacher's big thing. He's somewhat like Jimmy Clark, Ayrton Senna. They had this unbelievable ability to just absolutely drive flat out on the opening lap.
Coming around to complete lap 1, and the laps go down very quickly here in Hungary. Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, David Coulthard, then Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW, Jarno Trulli, Mika Hakkinen, Nick Heidfeld with that great start, and Juan Montoya got a good one as well. He's up to 8th.
perfect situation for Schumacher with, of course, his teammate holding up his only real rival in the championship.
Of course, I said that was Nick Heidfeld, and of course, it obviously isn't that Ralph Schumacher. There's Jarno Trulli, Mika Hakkinen behind him.
Hakkinen, who has won the last 2 Hungarian Grand Prix, appears to be in trouble this time out.
His car didn't look very good yesterday afternoon at all. He had a couple of very sloppy-looking laps.
He really overdrove it, didn't he?
And just couldn't get the grip to the thing at all. But this is the place to overdrive if you're going to.
Here's another look. Watch the right side of your screen. Just behind the yellow Jordan of Jarno Trulli is Nick Heidfeld. Jinks right, then left, and shoots up the inside. All of the cars on the dirty side of the track suffered on that start.
And here goes the Jag. You see it coming to the picture from right. There he goes, Eddie Irvine out.
He got a miserable start. See how far back of De La Rosa he was when he went off the road, and they started on the same row.
Tries to spin the wheels and digs it in completely. And there goes Alonso. He ran into the back of
one of the pros.
Yeah, that would be Luciano Berti. He slipped going into turn 2, but managed to keep it out of any gravel.
No change at the end of lap 2.
Same distance from Schumacher back to Barrichello.
And David Coulthard is going to have a tremendous job here trying to get around Rubens Barrichello. Obviously, it's going to be down to pit stops and strategy like that. But, of course, it's, another 75 laps to go. An awful lot can go wrong in that time.
Here's Eddie Irvine trying to find a way back to the paddock. If you can't find a hole, make a hole.
One of the drivers swaps.
One of the rumors that's flying around this weekend is that Mika Hakkinen might go to replace Eddie Irvine at Jaguar. It seems like a stretch, but it could happen.
And there's no mention of where Eddie Irvine would go if that happens.
Well, the rumors about Jaguar are almost universally negative, including discussion that there might be some upheaval in that team's management in the near future. Of course, the team is led by American Bobby Rahal. Here's the start from David Coulthard's onboard camera. Michael Schumacher, who is not, we must say, the greatest starter in the world, got a terrific one today, though he may have been helped by the fact that Coulthard is on the dirty part of the track and immediately tried to find his way over onto the clean part.
But the incredible thing about that start, when we looked at the replay again, not one whiff of smoke from any of those tires. So the start now kind of out of the driver's hands. They just punch the button and traction control takes over from there. Just unbelievable. Not a whiff of smoke off that entire grid as they all started.
And plenty of dust in the air.
David Coulthard there setting the fastest lap, but he's going to have the very devil of a job to get around Rubens Barrichello. And of course, Rubens Barrichello, David Coulthard and Ralf Schumacher are all struggling for that second spot in the championship.
That new fastest lap by David Coulthard is faster than last year's fastest lap, and it's interesting that in qualifying, the new qualifying record is 3.5 seconds faster than the old one. That's an incredible margin.
Well, that was a rare joy for us all to be on board a McLaren, but as you can see, it was
all too
short-lived.
You mentioned that Michael Schumacher was not among the quickest starters. Ferrari, apparently, according to Ross Brawn, has done some tests on reaction time. Schumacher is not among their fastest drivers in reaction time, but of course he has the great judgment that goes with it. But I have a sense that that may be why we see him cut so rapidly across the grid right after a typical start where he's on the front row. He knows he's probably getting away a little slower than the other guys and immediately moves to block them.
See a big gap from David Coulthard in third to Ralf Schumacher in fourth, now out to 4 seconds. So it would appear that Mika Hakkinen back in seventh has the car under him that can run with the front three. He's just not able to get around the cars ahead of him to engage these three.
Now, pit stop strategy here. You know, we saw Ross Brawn talking about their 3-stop strategy back in '97. If Michael Schumacher was running really light, which I thought he might do, he would be rocketing off quicker than he is now, unless, of course, all three of these guys are all running very, very light. Maybe David Coulthard thought, well, I'm not going to fall for that again. I'm going to go for a 3-stop strategy, or a potential 3-stop. Certainly a 2-stop. Because these three guys are obviously very evenly matched. And Michael Schumacher's not putting the distance between himself and the others I thought he would. He did it all on the first lap.
David Coulthard's pit board.
That +4 is indicative. 4 seconds back to Ralf Schumacher.
Yeah.
Schumacher finished 5th here last year.
Jarno truly losing ground also to Ralf Schumacher. That's not good for Jordan or Trulli or Honda. So Mika Hakkinen just a second behind him.
We've got a red flag on the timing monitors. Jenson Button will be called in for a 10-second stop and go for jumping the start. Well, that's the last thing the young Brit needs.
I'll say.
It's axiomatic in racing that you have to outqualify your teammate. You have to look good against your teammate. And Jenson Button has not managed to look good against Fisichella at all this year.
Jenson Button's whole career really unraveling before our very eyes, looking so fantastically good last year, that unbelievable qualifying at Spa, and now he can't be as quick as Fisichella almost anywhere, either in qualifying, in practice, or the race. Not looking good for him at all. Panis, of course, got around Villeneuve there, which is, as he would be thinking, put them back in the right order, because he was quicker than Villeneuve all weekend except yesterday afternoon.
Panis was the guy that was really responsible for the setup that Villeneuve is now running. In fact, there's another driver pairing, Panis and Villeneuve, that is hurting a major reputation in the business. Jacques Villeneuve is suffering in comparison with Olivier Panis this year.
A lot of questions about Jacques Villeneuve, the former kart champion, Indy 500 winner, and Formula One world champion. Just seems to be going wrong on his setup options at every race. He's being outperformed by his teammate. A lot of questions about Villeneuve, despite the fact that he was on the podium at Germany 3 weeks ago. There is Button making his stop. You see none of the mechanics touch the car. We'll be back on the way in a moment. We'll be right back, live to Hungary. Welcome back live to the Hungaroring and the Hungarian Grand Prix, round 13 of 17 in the Formula One World Championship. This is the battle for 5th. Jarno Trulli in the yellow Jordan and Mika Hakkinen, whom we're beginning to suspect might have a heavier fuel load. He might be on a two-stop strategy as he tries to deal with the Jordan. Now, coming up next Friday, August 24th, the Speed Vision World Challenge from Portland, Oregon. Our coverage begins with the touring car class at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 Pacific, followed by the GT cars at 9 Eastern, 10 Pacific. That's the Speed Vision World Challenge, the cars you and I drive next Friday on Speed Vision.
You know, while we're all banding theories around, one theory is, of course, that Michael Schumacher's car might be damaged. Another theory is that I wonder if Michael Schumacher is actually running a heavy fuel load, which is why David Coulthard is cracking off these fastest laps. But of course, he can't get round Barrichello, and maybe the sleeper here is Michael Schumacher, who might be on a one-stop strategy.
Well, as they say, that's why we run the races. Jarno Trulli has been a terrific qualifier this year, but he has not been able to come up with the race results, and he's been somewhat critical of his Jordan team, leading to speculation that the young Italian might go elsewhere in 2002.
Well, of course, both him, Jarno Trulli, and Fisichella come under the auspices of Flavio Briatore. He sort of owns their rights, as it were, and there's talk about him swapping them around from team to team. He has also got the rights, which he has now sold to Renault on Alonso, the young driver. So one way or another, Briatore.
Luciano Berti.
There's Luciano Berti off. Is he going to drive now? He wants to drive backwards, not forward.
And you don't want to drive through that gravel. We've already seen what happened to Eddie Irvine on lap 1.
He won't go anywhere.
Splitter is probably jammed in there.
He's trying,
What is he trying to do?
trying to outsmart the traction control, I think.
This is when you need to cut in the four-wheel drive.
Yes, and don't touch the wheels, boys, especially the back ones.
No.
This is at the turn 13, climbing the hill toward the final turn. Now, this is what happened to... Well, this is Pedro de la Rosa. I thought for a minute we were seeing a replay of what happened to Eddie Irvine on lap 1. This is de la Rosa and John Lacey going wheel to wheel.
Yeah.
Boy, Lacey showing some of the fight for which he's famous. Remember, this is his first drive in the Jordan. And
Who says you can't pass at the Hungaroring?
Great move, and John Lacey showing the stuff that makes us just love a guy like that.
He's great.
Well, that moves him from 13th to 12th.
He got in the car on Friday and was 6th quickest on the day, electrifying everybody, including that man, Alain Prost, who released him.
Despite losing some time due to a spin in the first hour of practice.
Right. And he fell back in qualifying, and here he is with his usual verve.
Verve and panache.
Luciano Berti walking back to pits must be another guy who is not high on everybody's shopping list, I wouldn't think, for the year 2002.
There are about 2 or 3 seats too few right now, and a couple of guys are going to be on their way out.
David Coulthard at this point starting to get pretty frustrated because he probably can't get any closer to Barrichello than he is at the moment. With the downforce these guys have piled on, they make a big hole in the air. They've all got extra wings and downforce, so he's probably finding it difficult to really come to grips with Barrichello, who he's obviously quicker than at the moment.
David Coulthard has spent a good deal of this season looking at other people's tailpipes with frustration. Most notably, of course, Bernoldi's at Monaco.
Of course, all the kart guys who are going to be seen on Speed Vision next year are all assembled agog around their TV sets in the paddock at Elkhart Lake this weekend. Had a bit of rain yesterday, could have some rain today.
I'm sure the NASCAR boys in Michigan are also looking in.
They're looking in, and they got rain today as well. So a lot of wet races, but it certainly isn't wet here in Hungary. Had some very wet spectators yesterday at Elkhart who brought their dish to their campsite from wherever they came from. They're all huddled around that this morning as well. Hopefully it's not raining there at the moment.
A glance at the timing screen shows Michael Schumacher picked up over a second on that last lap. A lap at 1:18 while everyone else was in the 19s.
Now, I wonder if he, in those early laps, was just sussing the car out after that brief off-course
Well, that would be the time to do it, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Boy, he's pulling away right now. There's the fastest lap, and you see the gap developing.
While we're on the subject of drivers in line for Grand Prix racing next year, the Formula 3000 race here at Hungary yesterday was won by Great Britain's Justin Wilson, who leads Mark Webber by 20 points with 2 races to go in that championship. Webber may have cost himself a shot at the title when he spun off the racetrack with a couple of laps to go. Derek Hill of the United States, son of 61 world champ Phil Hill, had one of his best races in his rookie year in Formula 3000, finishing 12th here at the Hungary race. Congratulations to Derek. Another second added to Michael Schumacher's margin now.
Oh, he has suddenly picked up the big and run with it, hasn't he? This is kind of what I was expecting to do, but
Michael Schumacher had 1 race with Jordan and then a bunch with 2 years with Benetton, and then he switched, he went from 92 to 95 with Benetton and then switched to Ferrari. So in effect, he has driven for really just 2 teams in his entire career.
Yeah, and do you imagine how Jordan felt after he'd lost him to Tom Walkinshaw and Benetton after his debut race at Spa, where Bob and I were there watching him, and he'd never been to Spa before, qualified 7th in his first Formula 1 race.
Saw that crane. I believe that was Enrique Bernoldi's arrows being cranked away.
Jos Verstappen having a pretty good run, up to 15th now, qualifying in 21st, so he's been doing some overtaking.
That arrows, by the way, will have Cosworth V10 engines next year. Tom Walkinshaw has cut a deal with Niki Lauda for the same specification of engines as Ford's factory team Jaguar will be using next year. Quite a coup for Tom Walkinshaw.
Welcome back to the early stages of the Hungarian Grand Prix, where Michael Schumacher, who you see here, is absolutely flying. He's setting lap record after lap record. He was 0.8 of a second faster than his closest pursuer in qualifying yesterday. That was David Coulthard, who's currently mired in 3rd. Schumacher has just turned it on. He's just piled on another second. He was 4.5 seconds ahead last lap. He's added 0.8 to that margin now. We have a rumor, strictly that Rubens Barrichello is having troubles with his shifter. But in any case, that notwithstanding, it is Michael Schumacher who took the lead at the start, was a second and a third ahead after the first lap, but then seemed to just run steadily there, didn't want to increase his lead much. And then with five laps ago, gentlemen, with the first round of pit stops, just about 4 laps to go from here.
Just knocked another half second off.
There it is again.
His last fastest lap was an 18.6.
What do you make of it?
Well, I really don't know. I mean, first of all, I thought he'd got enough fuel on board for maybe a one-stop, but obviously he is pretty light. I guess he was just really playing himself in after making that dynamite first lap. Now Rubens Barrichello, if he's got a problem, it's not slowing him up much, of course. David Coulthard's the one that's frustrated, but of course Rubens Barrichello needs to stay in front of David Coulthard for his own purposes to make sure that he comes second in the World Championship. At the moment, he is 6 points behind David Coulthard. So.
And within 1 point of Ralf Schumacher.
Yeah, the battle for second in the championship is, of course, going to become the focus of the rest of the season if Michael pulls this off today, as he is so likely to do. And there's another fastest lap.
And while Michael Schumacher gets quicker and quicker, Barrichello is not. He's still running in the 19s.
So maybe Barrichello's going for the one-stop strategy, which is probably frustrating David Coulthard. It looks like the way the speed he was turning early on that he is going for 2 stops.
Well, keep in mind, Michael is definitely in his element. He's a former 2-time winner at this racetrack, and in qualifying as well as practice, nobody could touch him except once on Saturday morning when David Coulthard bumped him from the top of the timesheets. He out-qualified Coulthard by 0.8 of a second, the biggest margin we've seen in qualifying all season, and he did it in only 6 laps. That's 2 hot laps. And then he parked the car and said, that was as fast as I was going to be able to go, so I just left it.
Hasn't he been on the pole here 5 times?
You may be right.
That's a lot.
You guys watch his hands on the wheel. He's barely moving it. He's not correcting for slides at all. He's just got a complete sense of precision control.
Of course, one of the most amazing drives I've ever seen was Michael Schumacher when Ross Brawn was talking about they were running third and they had nothing to lose. I mean,
so they changed to a
basically, he came in and said, look, can you pull out 20 seconds in the next 20 laps? He said, sure. And he did.
And he's doing it again right now.
He is.
And he went off, coming out of that last turn, he went on the grass and skated around and still pulled out 20 seconds.
Let me take you back to our Audi storylines. I mentioned one of the milestones that Michael Schumacher would assume today, or could assume today, was that of all-time lead in laps led. He needed to lead 7 laps to surpass the late Ayrton Senna's total of 2,931. We are now on lap 18, and Michael Schumacher has led every one of them. So that's another category in which Michael Schumacher has the lead. He already leads all of the great Formula One drivers in fast lap set. He could clinch his 4th World Championship today by beating that man David Coulthard by a mere 3 points. And he could, if he wins this race, tie Alain Prost for the all-time lead in career victories with his 51st. And while Prost took 199 races to do it, this is Michael Schumacher's 157th Grand Prix.
Michael won 8 races in 1994, 9 in 1995, 9 last year, and 6 so far this year. This would be the 7th, and he would have 4 races to go to try to win another couple to tie his previous best of 9.
And of course, he's got 9 pole positions this year, which puts him right up there. Senna's had 10 a couple of times. Senna had 13 a couple of times. And Nigel Mansell heads that list with 14. Obviously, with the amount of races left, Michael Schumacher would get the pole in all of them. He still wouldn't get the 14 poles in the year, but it would put him at 13. So he's got a lot of... and of course, he always just says that he has no interest in all his records. Maybe when I'm a grandfather, I'll look back on them, then it'll be different. But I can't help. If I was in his... I don't see how you could not think about it.
Here's the fight right now. Barrichello and Coulthard on the lap comparisons, basically on the same 10th, lap after lap.
Ross Brawn made the point that Michael Schumacher is always very quick when he's had a vacation. Well, he had a vacation, and he's very quick.
Well, that's the other thing. The man hadn't been in a race car for 3 weeks until he climbed in on Friday here in Hungary. Just astonishing. And, of course, his fitness level is legendary. He got out of the car after qualifying. Of course, he only did 6 laps, and only 2 of those were in anger, so to speak. And he was just as cool as a cucumber. And
that's really important here on this track. The 77 laps around this place with the constant turning and the heat is very demanding.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen has pitted from 13th place. 17th place.
Boy, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, you just have to feel just so sorry for his career. It just never took off at the right time. He was with Williams, I had a couple of so close victories. That disc exploded in Australia when he had a clear lead, and just things have never really worked out right for old Heinz Harald.
Quick stop means a small fuel load, probably on a 3-stop. You're right, though, David. Frentzen seems to have a fairly fragile personality. He couldn't survive at Williams.
Right. And they said everything was going to be all right at Jordan. Now it turns out that the Jordan team also has its Machiavellian side as well.
He just needs to be in an environment where everybody is warm toward him, patting him on the back, helping him along. And if it isn't that way, then he doesn't perform.
I don't think he's going to get that at Prost either. I mean, I don't see Prost as being, Mr. sort of sympathetic.
Okay, here we go. Traffic ahead. Michael Schumacher now has to deal with Jos Verstappen.
I think he will deal with Jos Verstappen rather promptly.
He's dealt with 2 or 3 people already. In fact, his last fastest lap was he passed at least one person.
I was about to say this is where he wants to catch him on the front straightaway, but obviously the arrow does not have enough speed. Well, that was under braking.
Well, I think he
saw him coming.
I think he saw him coming and lifted off, yeah.
Well, one of the reasons he saw him coming was, did you notice that Schumacher pulled his car out a little bit in the middle of the straight so that Jos would see him?
These two have an interesting junction in history. Back in '94, Jos Verstappen took his first Formula One podium as a member of the Benetton team as teammate to Michael Schumacher.
Schumacher is just not having to make any corrections at all. His drive is so like Mika Hakkinen's of the last couple of years when Mika got that McLaren dialed in here. And it's obvious that this track, with all of its twists and bumps and so forth, you can still get it right. And when you do, you have such an edge over everybody else because it is all turns. So you keep piling that advantage on. I mean, if there were long straights, then the Williams with the BMW engine would come back at him a little bit on the straights, but that's not happening here.
That's going to happen in 4 weeks' time when we go to Monza. I think the Williams are going to be incredibly
And in 2 weeks,
strong
I think at Spa, we'll see evidence of that power.
Great races coming up. Spa, and then Monza, and then, of course, the United States Grand Prix at Indianapolis, and we have something very special planned for you there. We'll have more on that in the weeks to come. Stay with us.
Speed Vision's coverage of Formula One is sponsored by BMW. Find yours at bmwusa.com. And by Tag Heuer, the official timekeeper of the Formula One Grand Prix.
Welcome back to Speed Vision's live coverage of the Hungarian Grand Prix. We are watching the battle for second between Barrichello and David Coulthard. We're now back with the leader, Michael Schumacher. So far, we've had pit stops by Alonso and Fisichella, and we are approaching what might be the first moment of the window opening for a 3-stop strategy. We haven't seen any of the top 12 make a pit stop yet, but they may not be far off. 54 laps remaining of a 77-lap race, David.
That lap there of Michael Schumacher, 17.4. His last fastest lap was an 18.125. That is a heck of a shot.
Last year, Michael Schumacher sat on pole for this race with a 17.5.
Previous fastest lap in this race was an 18 by Nigel Mansell back in like 1992.
Yeah, in the Ferrari when he had that incredible... No, excuse me, in the Williams. In the all-singing and dancing active Williams.
Right.
That's right.
Slick tires.
I keep going back to Mansell's race. Was it 89 in the Ferrari when he passed Ayrton Senna and he just came slashing through this part of the racetrack? Started 12th and won the race. What a year for Nigel. He came out with the Ferrari team and won in Rio de Janeiro in a brand new car. And then had that great race in Hungary. And in '92, he clinched the championship with 5 races to go here in Hungary.
And then he went on to win the kart championship. And for 12 magic days, I think it was, he was both kart and Formula One champion. Or, I mean, you know, he was on his way to the kart championship.
Truly's holding these guys up by any chance? Boy, oh boy. There must be some frustration there from Mika Hakkinen. Another rumor was that Jarno Trulli might go to McLaren, but that seems to have been superseded by the very strong rumor that Raikkonen's going to be snagged away at a huge cost, because everybody, Ferrari and Ron Dennis, are panicking that Raikkonen might get somewhere else. They want to make sure they get it.
Well, they replace one Finnish driver with another.
Speaking of Finnish drivers, Mika Hakkinen right there, looking very impatient behind Jarno Trulli's Jordan. Incidentally, the drama continues regarding my colleagues' very inopportune comments about the frozen wastelands of Finland. We want to thank the Johnson family for all those lovely postcards of summer scenes from Helsinki, just as Mika Hakkinen loses traction and goes wide at 1.
And here comes Raikkonen.
And Raikkonen's right behind.
So the two Finns who may be disputing it is Heidfeld. I'm sorry, we got a little carried away with the Finnish situation there. Those were my comments, and obviously
there's Raikkonen there with the yellow mirrors.
I was on the edge of a retraction when I was interrupted by my colleague.
Luckily, I didn't say anything about frozen wasteland.
Exactly.
And Bob didn't.
Nor would you now.
No,
Yeah.
especially not now.
Whoa!
Was one of the Minardi's just right in front of Hakkinen, let truly through, and then plunked himself right on the nose of Hakkinen's McLaren.
It's tough on this track when you're trying to get out of the way.
Well, that's a good point, Sam. You can't just leap up into the air. I mean, you have to hold your line and let guys get around you.
Right, and it's marbly off the line, so you take great risk. You've got to really find the place to do it. But the other drivers understand that.
It gets very marbly here because it's a high tie wear circuit. They use soft tires. If they're going to have 2 stops, they know they're going to have 2 sets of tires, so they get worn out. And, of course, with the tire war between Bridgestone and Michelin, there's more marbles than ever.
There's Eddie Jordan, who actually has no drivers officially signed up for next season. Alesi is a possibility. Trulli's a possibility. Fisichella is a possibility. Of course, with Eddie Jordan, just about anybody shorter than 3 of us is a possibility.
But then again...
Well, funny enough, I had a fax this morning.
From Eddie, yeah. So did I. You know, Jarno...
Wishing you well on your birthday.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're 90th. Jarno Trulli said that the track is Mickey Mouse, but that it suits his style. What a strange...
What does that say?
I don't know. It does actually appear to have mouse-like ears if you look at the diagram.
We'll have to send him a set from Disney World.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly is a driver. It is a challenge to a driver. I mean, all these corners are taken between 80 and 130. I mean, they're not exactly
standing
around. And there's a tremendous amount of effort put into it. And you've got to get it right because it's very easy to go sliding off the road here.
I like the track because it's got a strong identity. Some of the tracks are kind of a little of this, a little of that. Spa is great because it's really fast. This is great in its own way because it's really slow. That isn't a perverse thing.
And you really know where you are here. Although we say it's really slow, Michael's Schumacher's pole position yesterday was nearly 121 miles an hour, 6 mile an hour jump from last year.
First pit stop by a top 10 runner. Kimi Raikkonen pits the Sauber from P9.
Well, of course, that was a good strategic move for him to make. He's at the back of this lineup here, was obviously felt he was being very, very held up. Maybe he can get some free track now and pick up some time on that group for when they stop.
This is very much the man of the future in Formula One. If you listen to the team directors, supposedly McLaren and Ferrari have both inquired about him. He is the man that Peter Sauber had to hold off his key sponsor, Red Bull Energy Drinks, in order to hire. And in fact, he almost lost the sponsor over it. Now it appears that all is well because Kimi Raikkonen has been magic as a Formula One rookie.
Well, of course, there's a Ferrari engine in that Sauber, so Ferrari would seem to have the inside track on Raikkonen. And Raikkonen, you would think, would be happy to go to Ferrari. Not at all. Apparently, he is very objective about the fact that he doesn't want to go there as a number 2 to Michael Schumacher, where he might be number 2 for a couple of years, even more. Certainly, as long as Schumacher wants to be number 1, he's going to be number 1. So Raikkonen already showing basically the selfishness that is required of a top Formula One driver.
The street smarts.
Yeah, he'd be much better off at McLaren.
Nick Heidfeld, Kimi Raikkonen's Sauber teammate, has now headed for the pit lane. BAR and Ferrari are in the pit lane waiting for their cars. Here comes Olivier Panis from 10th position. Michael Schumacher now pits.
You notice the evidence of the cigarette advertising on the cars. Here's Michael into the pits. This is a big market for cigarettes.
I'm interested to see they took that very first pit, as they often do, rather than the one at the far end that would give them a clean shot out of the pits. Good stop for Ferrari.
Well, can you imagine the feeling as you go down here with that wretched pit limiter on, seeing about 25, or what must seem like a walking pace, before you can let it go at the end of the pit lane.
That said, thank goodness they have that limit, because the pits are dangerous enough without
it. Pulls out in front of his brother.
Michael came out in front of his brother Ralph in third.
And immediately resumes his cracking pace.
Because now that would have been somebody he wouldn't want to get stuck behind Ralph, because that would be tough to get by him with that BMW 4 power at the moment.
Bridgestone
I think
tire
he's already smoking around here. I mean, he's coming. This is Michael Schumacher at his absolute copybook best. Perfect start, pacing himself exactly, turning it on, a great pit stop, and now one of those great outlaps of which he's famous.
Meanwhile,
so far, he's
Mika
driving a
Häkkinen's
perfect race.
Häkkinen's nightmare continues behind Trulli with Juan Pablo Montoya just
giving him a hard time now, right behind him.
And he knows Montoya won't wait. This is Jenson Button.
Third stop of the day. Second stop of the day. We heard that Jenson Button nearly got fined again for another 10 seconds for crossing the white line on the way to the pits.
Barrichello is in the race lead. He stayed out, did not pit that time by. And look at Montoya now, right on the rear wing of Mika Häkkinen. And they have even slower traffic ahead of them, one of the Prosts and one of the Arrows.
Montoya just did not get to grips with the track during practice, despite the fact he has experience here in a Formula 3000 car. That was some time back, and he had some brilliant driving in practice, didn't he, David? But he just couldn't put a lap together.
He just, you know, had one of those understeer, oversteer deals. He just could not get it dialed out to his... And even this morning, he was relatively slow in the warm-up. 12th, in fact, this morning. So he seems to be coming good now. But, of course, you can't... Up, there goes Trulli.
So that will free up some racetrack for Mika Häkkinen. It may be a bit too late for the Finn.
Now, it's going to be interesting to see if Häkkinen can pull away from Montoya now that Trulli's gone.
Truly, I think, somewhat motivated by having Alesi join the team, because he, the very first day Alesi was with the team, he qualified, practiced 6th fastest.
Well, can you imagine two men more dissimilar in personality than Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who makes the word downbeat sound active, and Jean Alesi, who is about as hyper as they come. Poor Jarno Trulli all of a sudden has to be careful. But I agree completely that it may just inject him with some energy. Now, Trulli came out just ahead of Rubens Barrichello, which will not please the Brazilian.
Now, this will certainly help Michael Schumacher, of course, by slowing Barrichello and Coulthard up even more.
It's Ralph.
There's Barrichello getting by Trulli as Ralf Schumacher completes his pit stop.
Truly very generous there.
Overly generous. Are we sure that's Trulli?
There's David Coulthard right there. Now this is Coulthard's opportunity. He cannot wait to engage Barrichello. Meanwhile, Ferrari's ready in the pit lane, so Barrichello may be coming in, which will give Coulthard his opportunity. It appears that the McLarens are on a 2-stop. Here comes Jacques Villeneuve from 7th place.
So far, very low retirement rate.
Alesi is in. Rubens Barrichello is in. Villeneuve exits. Here's Barrichello.
It's a tight pit there, wasn't it, when Villeneuve and Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Jean Alesi are coming together.
Here comes Michael Schumacher to reassume the lead as Jean Alesi exits the Jordan pits.
A lap.
Excuse me, David Coulthard leads. Michael is second. Coulthard has a pit stop coming. Here comes Barrichello.
Look at that distance from Michael back to Rubens.
Pedro de la Rosa pits. There's the Jaguar. Every time I see those fueling rigs come out now, I think about Germany and the problems Juan Pablo Montoya had. Mike Gascoigne, the technical director for the Benetton team, says the rigs are different this year, and the teams had no practice with them before the opening round of the season in Australia. They are now computer controlled in such a way that you can change the amount of fuel going into the car under pressure at the very last instant. But you don't always necessarily get what you ask for. Gascoigne says that caused real problems, and he wants to see those fueling rigs re-engineered.
Boy, Coulthard really fighting.
Oh, there he goes.
Race leader in.
Very wobbly last part of that lap.
Well, he was really hammering it around, wasn't he, to just extract every last tenth of a second out of it.
Let's see what happens to the race leadership. Michael will come around. Here comes Schumacher. DC exits. We're going to be looking for Rubens Barrichello in the second Ferrari. There he is. But Coulthard will get out ahead of him, I think.
Boy, Rubens coming on strong.
This is going to be close.
Rubens going down that straight, looking. You know what he was looking at. He was looking at the end of that pit wall. Yeah, am I going to see that McLaren? Oh, damn it. There it was.
This is something that Rubens Barrichello did not like, because I think that Coulthard will pull away from Barrichello now.
I do too.
So that knocks another hole in Barrichello's hopes of becoming second in the championship. Currently got 40 points compared to Coulthard's 47.
In fact, they're running in the order of the championship.
Exactly, yeah.
And relative to the point totals, too.
New fast lap from Ralf Schumacher. There's Montoya's pit. So Schumacher, having just pitted, comes out and sets fast lap.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because the Michelins were reputed to be not too necessarily suited to this circuit, and nor was the Williams, but that's a very good lap.
It's obvious the circuit itself is getting faster as the race wears on, rubber getting down. It will probably slow up after about 2/3 of the race, but right now it's still in the getting faster stage.
Now, one man has yet to pit. That's Mika Hakkinen. Watch Barrichello onto the front straight. It's slightly crowned.
You know, the failure of Mika Hakkinen to look better in the race, Bob, is a symbol, really, of his... And you figure the last 2 years he's dominated this race, and now he's basically and also ran at this stage. That's a symbol of how far down he has fallen this year. Well, I mean, not just him, but the team, which has underperformed by McLaren standards.
In that flurry of pit stops, Kimi Räikkönen got around his teammate Heidfeld there, too. So Kimi Räikkönen back in the points with a 6th position at the moment.
Jarno Trulli tumbled all the way back to 10th. Juan Montoya now has both of the Saubers in front of him. The Saubers going really well around here, despite the fact that they did no testing at all. Now, the teams weren't allowed to have an official test, but they were allowed 50 kilometers or 30 miles of shakedown runs. And Ferrari took that so seriously, they had Luca Badua practicing starts at Fiorano in Italy, and he would shut the car down after each start, have it pulled back to the pit. So he did a zillion starts and used up 10 kilometers of actual track. I was going to say track time, but it's actually track distance that really mattered. But the Sauber team didn't even bother taking the shakedown. They said, no, it would have cost a lot of money to go to a racetrack from Switzerland, so we'll just show up with what we think will work.
And it did.
And it has. Now, there's David Coulthard in second. He is flying. He put 2 seconds on both Michael and Rubens on his out lap. And although Michael Schumacher is pounding along, David Coulthard is currently the fast man on the racetrack. We'll be right back to Hungary. Welcome back live to the Hungarian Grand Prix. Bob Barsha, Sam Posey, David Hobbs, and Peter Windsor with you. Michael Schumacher is the race leader by about 11 seconds, but that margin is coming down. As I mentioned before the break, David Coulthard is flying. Meanwhile, his teammate, Mika Hakkinen, has yet to pit. So despite Peter Windsor's prognostication that we wouldn't see a one-stop strategy, it appears the Finn may be on one. We'll have to see how it plays out. We'll be back in just a moment.
You guys hungry?
Welcome back live to Hungary. Olivier Panis passed by race leader Michael Schumacher, who lost 2 seconds in 2 laps to second place David Coulthard, but gained a little bit of that back as the gap continues to rise and fall. Moments ago, Jenson Button spun at the top of the start-finish straightaway. More on that in a moment. As you may know, Speed Vision has increased coverage of NASCAR Winston Cup racing. Every weeknight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, it's totally NASCAR. Every Monday at 7 Eastern and 8 Pacific, it's NASCAR Victory Lane. And beginning August 26th, we'll have NASCAR Tech, Sunday nights at 7 Eastern, 8 Pacific. You can be sure that more NASCAR does not mean less Grand Prix racing. We are still pursuing the rights for Formula One well into the future. Here is Mika Hakkinen finally making his first and presumably only pit stop at the halfway mark of today's Hungarian Grand Prix.
Quite a rapid pit stop in view of the amount of fuel he, in theory, would be taking on.
Mika Hakkinen remains in 5th place.
That was pretty good. I thought he was going to lose a couple of spots there.
This is the car of Jensen Button that spun, as Bob mentioned, coming out of the last turn. They've now managed to maneuver it out of the racing line, or off the track. It was never actually in the line, but it was very much at risk there. Button just having a miserable day to cap a miserable season.
Yeah, there's those marbles starting to assemble offline.
Bridgestone brought both a new and an old construction, and the Bridgestone team seemed to be fairly evenly split on which one they used. Oh, there's Fernando Alonso.
Oh, Alonso, so much hope for the Spanish driver. He out-qualified both Arrows and Bertie.
Look at that pickup. I mean, that is not sand, ladies and gentlemen. That is boulders.
Look how low he is in the car. I don't see how he can see out of it down there.
We made that point during the qualifying show. It looks, maybe that's why he's in the gravel.
The last 20 feet in front of the rear wing is out of sight as far as he's concerned. Of course, that's not where he's looking anyway. But.
You know, in the past, Michael Schumacher, with very large leads and a dominant performance, has sometimes made a mistake near the end of the race.
Case in point, last year's U.S. Grand Prix.
The case in point, Monaco, a couple of years ago. So it just 97. Sorry, how time flies.
We're seeing a yellow flag. That's for the Minardi, I'm sure. I must say the gravel traps here in Hungary work very, very well. Much to the driver's dismay, the car definitely gets slowed down safely. But once you're in, you are pretty much done.
The Coulthard lost a bit of time there to Michael Schumacher, but he's picking up time for Rubens Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher now a fair way back in 4th spot. Montoya still down 8th, can't get around Heidfeld. Of course, Michael Schumacher, when he was on that unbelievable charge here, what year was it, 97? And he went off on that turn 14, that final turn. I mean, he was right across the grass. I mean, his little old hands were really whirring away at the wheel then.
I'm not sure what that graphic was telling us, other than the fact that Mika Hakkinen and Kimi Räikkönen were somewhere not to be found. 16.9 lap from Mika Hakkinen. That's the fastest lap of the race thus far. So the Finn is coming alive, and once again with a heavy fuel load. There it is.
Boy, that underlines the frustrations he must have felt held up in the early stages if he had that kind of speed on cap.
That time would have qualified him 16th for this race.
It also suggests he's got a very good set of tires on right now. And I wouldn't be...
Ooh, Coulthard.
That stop of Hakkinen's was so short. Could we speculate?
Yeah, could we speculate?
There might be another stop in the works and a very, very light car right now.
I think there must be, because the other guy I can't figure out, how on earth did Trulli suddenly find himself down in 10th spot? Right?
He seemed to have a perfectly reasonable stop, and as far as we could tell, good in and out lap.
He's on the top of the hill. Great viewing track, the Hungaroring. Not much in the way of spectator amenities. But you do have the wonderful city of Budapest, about 12 miles away.
The Danube River. Very, very impressive.
Oh, it's a spectacular
city
town.
River setting, yeah, absolutely.
Flowing along to Vienna, just 100 miles away.
Barrichello appears to be closing up a bit on David Coulthard, who through much of the first half of this race was the fast man on the track. There you see the cars out of the race. Fernando Alonso, the most recent. There's a good look at Rubens Barrichello as he tries to come to grips with David Coulthard while his Ferrari teammate Michael Schumacher is out front. We'll be back.
Welcome back to Speed Vision's coverage of the Hungarian Grand Prix. You're watching the battle for second place between David Coulthard in that McLaren and Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari. Rubens has been putting pressure on DC, and if he were to get by and Michael to keep the lead, this would be the third Ferrari 1-2 of the year, the other two being Malaysia and Monaco. So that's a possibility.
That's Olivier Panis in the white VAR just ahead of David Coulthard, former Grand Prix winner at Monaco. Panis normally fairly gentlemanly when it comes to allowing faster cars through. David Coulthard's definitely hoping he is now.
And remember, of course, Ferrari can clinch the Constructors' Championship here today, along with Michael's World Driving Championship, if they outscore McLaren by 7 points. So this battle for second is really crucial.
Panis does, in fact, let everybody through. David Coulthard really flying here.
David Coulthard's new girlfriend, interior designer from Paris by the name of Simone Adbelnour, a Brazilian, has been very much the object of the Hungarian television director's eye this weekend. I'm surprised we haven't seen her thus far in the race.
No, she certainly is pleasant on the old eye. Of that, there's no doubt.
David Coulthard vowed that he would not have a full-time girlfriend at the start of the season. And then he met Simone, and that was that. Love at first sight.
Oh, please.
I thought I'd never see that in real life.
Oh, and 76% of the women responding to a survey in Britain say they want to go out with you. Why be picky? Look at that number from Juan Montoya. Once again, the Williams BMWs, the quickest cars in a straight line. 305 kilometers an hour. That's right on 183 miles an hour before you hit the brakes for turn one.
And the fastest times last year were 174.5, 174.6. So this is an incredible jump.
Yeah. And they're all carrying, of course, a tremendous amount of downforce, so they're pretty slow on what straight there is here. Because places like this, turn 5, turn 4, and then, of course, through all these internal S's on the top of the hill here, they want all the downforce they can get, so they're prepared to throw away lap speed, high speed.
This just in, I recrunched the numbers. That's 189 miles an hour on the front stretch.
That is almost a 14-mile-an-hour jump from last year. It's incredible. Obviously, they're coming out of the turns faster, but it certainly tells you that BMW is cranking some power.
Well, once again, the technical directors and the engine manufacturers are talking about what it's going to take to slow down these cars again. Of course, most of the DDs say, well, our drivers aren't complaining that the cars are too fast.
I don't think they should go cutting power just willy-nilly. I mean, the first thing is take off more downforce, I think.
850 horsepower from the most powerful V10s out there, from 3 liters, 183 cubic inches, normally aspirated, making 850 horsepower.
Staggering, isn't it?
That's pretty phenomenal. Michael Schumacher remains out front. There's Ralph's news. We'll be back in just a moment to Hungary. Welcome back live to the Hungarian Formula One Grand Prix. I'm Bob Varsha with David Hobbs and Sam Posey. Michael Schumacher took an impossibly quick pole position for this race, the 9th of the season, 41st of his career. He dominated the early going until the first round of pit stops. We have another round coming up shortly. Right now, Michael Schumacher right where he needs to be to clinch his 4th World Driving Championship, joining the late Juan Manuel Fangio, who had 5, and Alain Prost, who is standing in the pit lane running his Prost team, who had 4.
And if the race ends the way it's being run right now, Schumacher will have a 41-point lead at the end of the day over David Coulthard. And by the end of the year, Schumacher could have another record, most points between the champion and the number 2 guy. The previous record held by Mansell in 92, 52-point balls. But at the end of the day, Schuey could be 41 points up with 4 races to go.
4 races to go, yeah.
Incredible.
He's also closing up on Alain Prost for the all-time lead in podiums. Prost, from 199 starts, was on 106 podiums. While Michael Schumacher, in 156 starts coming in, has 93.
A major wiggle there.
Mika Hakkinen notches up another fast lap, breaking his 16.9 with a 16.8.
Talking of finished drivers, Kimi Räikkönen has just had his second pit stop.
Let's go back to that for just a moment, because something unusual happened and it may affect his race. Watch the back of the car.
Leaving the pits, that looks like part of the diffuser, doesn't it? I mean,
I think that's exactly what it is.
It looks vital. Whatever it is, it looks important.
This is Jarno Trulli from 11th place after a brilliant qualifying performance that put him 5th and some strong early running in the top 5. Trulli has somehow stumbled back out of the top 10.
And this has been his point this year. He's mentioned it himself a number of times, as we have. You know, they just can't seem to get it done in the race. I don't understand it. I mean, 1 minute he's running 5th, and now he's suddenly 11th. Maybe Coulthard back to a 12-second deficit on M. Schumacher.
There's something said, speaking of the Jordan team and the BAR team for that matter, the Honda representative here in the Thursday press conference was asked about the future of Honda's involvement in Formula One with perhaps one team instead of two, to which he replied, those are only rumors. He didn't say it's not going to happen.
No.
Front wing change on Juan Montoya's Williams. Fuel, tires, away he goes.
Juan Montoya, just a couple of laps ago, really let Michael Schumacher through too, big time. Gave himself lost up quite a bit of time to let him through, which I thought was pretty good.
He's going to have to make some time if he hopes to get points out of this race. Nick Heidfeld is in from 6th place in the Sauber. There's one of the BARs. Villeneuve. Scratch that. Our spotters say it was Villeneuve entering the pits that we thought was Heidfeld. Villeneuve from 10th place may be able to scramble something out of this weekend that has seen him off the pace in both practice and qualifying.
Coulthard and Barrichello having had this terrific battle for second all day. Only, of course, before the pit stops, it was the other way around. Barrichello was leading Coulthard. Obviously, both incredibly evenly matched, because Coulthard is not pulling away from Barrichello as any more than Barrichello could pull away from Coulthard in the first
right, they've been joined
40-odd lap.
Pretty much all
day.
It's
incredible.
Handsome shot. This is another race this year in which Coulthard has outpaced Hakkinen. 2 years ago, that would have seemed impossible. Hakkinen seemed to have such an iron grip on the superiority between those two.
Even though now Harkinen's broken free from being trapped behind Jarno Trulli earlier on, he's cranking out some pretty quick laps. There you see the laps between Coulthard and Barrichello, very, very evenly matched.
Sun has been occluded by some cloud. You see no strong shadows on the track right now.
Occluded.
Is that inappropriate?
Gone behind.
Yeah, exactly. The sun's not shining, it's dull.
It's dark.
It's cloudy here at the Nürburgring, but it remains very hot. Excuse me, the Hungaroring. I was just thinking about the Nürburgring. Well, I was looking at these stats regarding laps led by Michael Schumacher, who, by the way, is now pitting his Ferrari. Excuse me, Mr. Director. There he is. You know, laps led is a fairly misleading figure, because when they ran the old Nordschleife at the Nürburgring, you had to work hard to lead one lap, but 14 miles around. Exactly. So maybe miles led is a more appropriate number to judge a driver's domination. And Michael Schumacher is also moving toward all-time leadership in that category. I don't think there's any.
That's not what he wants. Who's that got out in front of him?
Wants. That's one of the Saubers.
Yeah.
Be Nick Heidfeld with a Ferrari engine behind him as well. Oh, and there's Kimi Räikkönen. So Michael Schumacher makes it a Ferrari threesome.
Drops back to third spot.
So Heidfeld's back around Räikkönen. They've battled throughout the race.
David Coulthard leading again.
Ralf Schumacher pits the Williams from P4. There he is. Woof. Cameraman doing a quick step to get out of the way.
Notice the extra wings on the BMW Williams there. There's one right up on the roll bar, and then there's another one in front of the rear wing. It's a white, sort of almost banana-shaped wing. They obviously went all out for downforce here, as did McLaren. They have a wing, a black one, just on top of the gearbox area. And Ferrari has those little
winglets on the top of the side pods.
Yeah. So everybody's going for whatever they can get in terms of downforce.
This is Rubens Barrichello. Oh, sorry. Yes, Rubens is coming in. There's Rubens. That was Michael Schumacher. Sorry. I knew the Ferrari team was in the pit lane, but this Rubens coming around the final corner.
It gave away about a second in there, wouldn't you say, David?
When they try and pull that fueling thing out, it gives you heart failure and it doesn't come out as it must do to them.
And then he was a split second slow getting going. Here we are, squeezing by.
Looked like that BAR tried to get out of the way of the Williams and just got caught at the most awkward moment diving down into turn 1. And that was Montoya going around the outside, so he has gone off onto the grass. And I
thought we saw a puff of.
You really can't blame Olivier Panis. I mean, it was just the most awkward place to be caught.
Well, you certainly wouldn't want to blame Panis because he is racing for a position with Montoya.
Exactly.
You might want to give Panis a hell of a hand.
Hold your line.
Yeah.
There's David Coulthard,
the current leader.
Battle for second in the championship was one of our storylines. Here comes Coulthard in from P1. So Michael Schumacher will reassume the race lead.
Coulthard so aware of the in and out laps. He puts a lot of emphasis on that. He's learned his lesson from Schumacher.
Coulthard had a very quick in lap, and as we saw after his previous stop, he is very quick on the out laps as well. Once again, the fuel hose won't come out. And there is Coulthard in the pit lane now, so it took a couple of tugs to get it out.
The thing is he going to beat Barrichello? Here comes Barrichello. It's going to be close.
It's going to be real
close.
I think Barrichello's got it.
Yes, he does. And that shows you just how high the penalty is for a balky fuel hose in the pit stop.
Well, I hope right now Coulthard is hearing I'm sorry in his helmet, because they just gave away second place right there in the pits.
That's Heinz-Harald Frentzen, followed by...
Boy, it's going to take me from now till the end of the year to get used to Heinz-Harald Frentzen being in that frost.
Now Barrichello trying to make hay. He knows he was gifted second place, as the British would say.
And he's been gifted again, too, to have a Benetton. Fisichella right there.
We know it's not Button's fault this time.
Yeah, he's not there.
He's on the way to the airport.
Ooh, that is big time helping Barrichello there. Oh, Coulthard's got around him now. But right along the top there, that bit that Sam was talking about at the top of the show, the twisted bit of racetrack in Formula One, he got held up for a good 2/3 of that.
Might have paid a substantial portion of his multi-million-dollar salary for just one little legal Nerf bar there that he could have used to let Fisichella know he was there. But David Coulthard now tries to recoup some of the ground lost to Rubens Barrichello. It's a Ferrari 1-2. We'll be back to Hungary.
Welcome back to the Hungarian Grand Prix. This was moments ago. Hakkinen pitted from P4 as we thought he might have taken on a very light fuel load and be going on a two-stop. We were right about that. He, as you will see, loses fourth position to Ralf Schumacher, who just went by there in the Williams. And there is Frentzen in the Prost, giving him room. So Hakkinen, those fast laps were due entirely to a very light fuel load, as we speculated. Let's take a look at the Bridgestone race reset. It's deceptive, really. Lead changes 5. It's really been Michael Schumacher all the way. That's only because of the various pit stop situations. He's led almost the whole race. The big story, Michael, his milestones. He has now taken over the all-time lead in most laps led. He's on his way to his 4th World Championship, and he will tie, if he keeps the lead, the 51 wins by Alain Prost, and Ferrari will clinch the Constructors' Championship. So it's a huge Ferrari day. They also appear to be on their way to their third 1-2 finish because Barrichello is holding David Coulthard at bay. It's a red day in Hungary.
Well, I tell you what, too, Michael Schumacher has had an extraordinary year. He's led 416 laps this year so far. Second spot is Ralf Schumacher, his brother, with 133, and then, unbelievable, it's Montoya with 85 laps led. And Hakkinen, Coulthard, and Barrichello bringing up the next 5 spots. So 415 of the 700, 820 led at laps so far this year. Not bad, is it? Half.
They just
can't seem to get it done in the race.
They can't get it done in the race. They start well, they run well up to the first pit stop, and then they just put her in F for fade.
We're talking about Jarno Trulli, who moments ago pulled off the racetrack with obvious mechanical failure in his Jordan Honda.
Jarno Lacey at the moment running in 11th spot.
Now, Michael Schumacher it appears likely to clinch his second straight Drivers' Championship for Ferrari, something not done since Alberto Ascari back in 52 and 53, and this looks ominous. This looks terminal.
It does indeed. Olivier Panis, whose weekend really has gone pretty well so far.
So we've lost Trulli from 11th, Panis from 9th. For a while there, it was looking team by team. 2 Ferraris, followed by a McLaren, a Williams, and the other McLaren, then 2 Saubers, the other Williams, then 2 BARs, now down to 1. The 2 Jordans, now down to 1.
The ARC will be leaving at 4 o'clock.
The point I was getting at about Ferrari, though, we're talking about Michael Schumacher all the time, but if Ferrari, or certainly when Ferrari clinches the Constructors' Championship this year, it'll be their 3rd straight.
After being in eclipse for almost 20 years. It's an incredible turnaround.
Michael Schumacher said today that if he wins the World Championship this year, it still won't be quite like last year, which he felt was such a milestone. First time for 20 years that Ferrari had won the Drivers' Championship with
Jody Scheckter.
Mental block there. 1979. So, but he said, I'll still take it.
David Coulthard, even if McLaren finishes 3rd and 4th, and they're currently 3rd and 5th, they will not be able to prevent Ferrari from clinching that Constructors' Championship today, so long as Ferrari finishes 1st and 2nd, as they are currently running 7.7 seconds apart, Schumacher and Barrichello.
Speed Vision's coverage of Formula One is sponsored by Porsche. Discover what only Porsche brings to driving. And by K&N Engineering. Performance begins with K&N Air Filters.
Welcome back live to the Hungarian Grand Prix. I'm Bob Varsha with Sam Posey, David Hobbs, and Peter Windsor, and this is the best battle on the racetrack and an interesting comparison of 2 very different cars. Thank you very much, Mr. Director. That was the battle for 4th. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams has it and draws away from Mika Häkkinen's McLaren on the straightaways, but McLaren and Häkkinen right there closes right up when the road starts twisting.
So McLarens are in the attack position in both cases because DC is attacking Barrichello at the same point just further up the track.
Now look at him catch up round this corner, this last turn 14, and as they really hit their stride here, you can physically see the BMW. Look at it pull away.
Touching 189 miles an hour before they hit the brakes. There's a lap comparison.
Basically the same.
Because the really difficult thing for Mika Häkkinen here is if he does want to make a brave stab somewhere, as soon as he pulls offline, he's going to run into all those marbles.
Right. Häkkinen has been pounding the curbs and perhaps showing a wheel to Schumacher, trying to force a mistake.
And Häkkinen is one of the great guys for making passes. Remember his, of course, his great pass in Belgium last year, but before that at Magny-Cours, coming up through the pack.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. But those tracks are different. As David has pointed out, the marbles here out of the line really limit your passing opportunities at this point in the race. It would be different if it was very early in the race and the track was clean. It's really tough now. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but against the power of the BMW, I'm just wondering where it could happen.
The one really good spot is Nick's for him because it's at the end of that front straight.
Here he comes again, sweeping up on him in the turn.
He's trying so hard to do it here. Trying to tuck under the wing, but
he's done everything he can,
and of course all the BMW guys will be thinking, okay guys, wait till we get to Spa in a couple of weeks, and then 2 weeks after that, whoa, here he goes.
He's trying it.
He is quick through turn 1.
By now, Hakkinen well knows he's not going to get Schumacher in a straightaway fight. He's got to get him in a corner somewhere, hopefully force a mistake. There was a 4 km/h difference on that front straightaway, a little over 2 miles an hour in straightaway speed.
Of course, the other place he's got to get in, he seems to be very good through turn 1, the Nikolai Hakkinen behind the wheel, so this is where he's hoping to be able to. Schumacher went a little bit wide, and he blocks judiciously to the outside. Notice there's shadows now, so the occlusion has gone, Bob.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Boom!
Oh,
yeah,
Schumacher is struggling.
Yeah, he gave a bit of a wobble there.
Driving on his mirrors a little bit, I think.
A lot.
The Finn can do it. Now there's traffic ahead.
He's a little bit closer going into that turn 1. That's all he's going to need, maybe.
This is great action. Battle for 4.
I think Frentzen or someone was just ahead of them. I thought it was a Frost. We'll find out shortly. Closing laps of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher leads teammate Rubens Barrichello by 6.1 seconds. David Coulthard, another second back. So the battle for second is a good one. Then this battle going on about 35 seconds behind the front-running 3.
Through any of these corners along the top of the hill here, there's really just nowhere you can have a stab at it. You know, it's just not on, I don't think. Maybe into this very last turn after they've gone through fast 12 here as they sweep down to 13 right here, but that's a real long shot.
Nick Heidfeld remains in the 6th and final points-paying position for Sauber, so a point for that team would solidify their hold on 4th place in the Constructors' Championship behind Ferrari, McLaren, and Williams. And those are very important points.
I think when you see these two really duking it out here, it gives you even more of an idea of just how physical this race is. These guys are absolutely straining every sinew. It's as hot as Hades in those cars. The outside air temperature is nearly 90. So in the cockpit, you know it's up around about 110, 120 around their feet and waist. And of course, tremendous amount of physical exertion as you wind these cars through these turns.
Most of them have power steering, but some do not. The Prosts, for example, do not have power-assisted steering. So Luciano Berti and Heinz-Harald Frentzen are doing all that work.
And of course, you've got terrific G-loading sideways.
Especially around here.
And fore and aft. I mean, these things brake at about 4 Gs. They accelerate at a couple.
It is.
And they can generate up to 3.5 side loads. So the old neck is just being swung around there like a rubber band.
It is Fisichella ahead. Yep. He's known for getting out of the way. Of course, now with the marbles that we've talked about, it may be a little bit
difficult
tough.
for him to get out of the way.
Exactly.
Slide off the road himself.
Yeah, but this is a great day for Mika Hakkinen because it certainly answers the people who have criticized him for maybe having the fire has gone out of Mika Hakkinen. Well, obviously, you can see it has not. He's pushing very, very hard here. This is dramatic stuff.
It's his best corner. And his best chance down the inside, but he has to be close on that.
Fisichella's doing a terrific job.
Close, you know, around there, isn't it? Because, I mean, that turn 1 is only about a 75, leaving, going from 75 to about 100 miles an hour through that corner. But, of course, you need all that downforce. And if he gets stuck under the wing of the Williams, he's going to lose it.
Well, just as I finished saying that Frentzen was working hard, it got the better of him. He is now done. That leaves us with 14 cars on track. We have one more break. It's a quick one, just 90 seconds. Join us for more from the Hungarian Grand Prix. Welcome back live to the Hungaroring here on Speed Vision. The Hungarian Grand Prix on Bob Barsha with Sam Posey and David Hobbs. Obviously, you've missed nothing. The battle for fourth place with 9 laps remaining is still a slugfest between Ralf Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen.
They did get by Giancarlo Fisichella. He basically let them by on the main straight, so that is no longer a factor, but there is another car up ahead now, about where Fisichella was 5 laps ago. Hakkinen, of course, has got to hope for some development, because so far he's tried A, he's tried B, nothing has worked.
Texas for second place. David Coulthard trying to get around Rubens Barrichello, who's trying to give Ferrari their third 1-2 finish of the year and lock up the Constructors' Championship. This is going on 6 seconds behind race leader Michael Schumacher.
That's the closest they've been all afternoon, isn't it, too? I mean, that is right behind him. But, of course, it's the same thing. He's got those marbles to contend with. That's David Coulthard if he wants to go around the outside, so it's going to be very difficult for him to get around Barrichello. These two drivers have been incredibly evenly matched, I think, for the last couple of years. They right at about the same skill level, I'd say, these two.
14 cars remain of the 22 starters.
Unlike Hockenheim 3 weeks ago, where there were so many retirements, here there have been relatively few and almost none among the top runners.
Both Ferraris, both McLarens, both Williams, both Saubers still in the race.
Schumacher probably just relaxing a little bit now, because that's the danger time when you're
right
with just over 8 laps left to go.
I have a hunch, though, that knowing the marbles are there and how critical a mistake would be, Schumacher is probably keeping pretty well focused. And if he isn't, Ross Brawn is talking to him pretty hard, because here's his 4th championship just right there for the taking. He had trouble in the warm-up. He ran over something, went off the road slightly, damaged a barge board. There was a possibility that he damaged the underside of the car. Apparently they were either able to fix that or it was not badly damaged, because the car has been perfect so far. And so is Schumacher.
So with Alain Prost standing on the pit wall, watching, Michael Schumacher closes in on tying the great Frenchman the all-time lead in Formula One victories. And Prost has been very gracious about that possibility. He said Michael is clearly the best of his generation, and he deserves the record if he gets it. Oh, Giancarlo Fisichella appears to have blown the Renault engine.
Fairly comprehensively by the look of things.
That leaves us with 13 cars in the race.
Verstappen there giving the two guys duking out for second, plenty of room. I mean, he practically came to a dead stop, so he wasn't in the way there as they went through that chicane.
I think you have to, don't you, David? If you're going to pull off line with the marbles, you better get slowed way up.
That's where Fisichella went off.
The smoke from Fisichella's blown Renault. It'll be interesting to see how Renault go next year with their still continuing development of their all-new wide-angle engine. Of course, next year the Benetton team becomes totally Renault.
Here's Lacey once again delivering one of his all the way to the finish drives. He's finished so many of the races this year. Now in his first race for Jordan, he apparently is ready to finish again.
And that in itself is good for Eddie Jordan's team. They've had a lot of mechanical failures this year.
Albeit in 10th spot.
See the gap from first to second. And then move the decimal point for the gap from second to third. Oh, Mika Hakkinen in for a splash with just a handful of laps to go.
I thought
Well, that's a tremendous relief to Ralf Schumacher.
Too late to say I told you so now, but I mean, I thought that both of those stops were incredibly short.
Isn't that incredible that Hakkinen appeared to be on a 1-stop and he was in fact on a 3-stop?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, that's what Ross Brawn said. Once you make it to 2-stop, then from then on you've got lots of options.
Yeah.
And Ralf Schumacher is breathing easy. So is Peter Windsor, who said we wouldn't see any 1-stops.
However, it makes you question the Hakkinen
a-
strategy.
Nearly a lap down now on Michael Schumacher.
Now this is the one and only best battle on the racetrack. This is for second place.
Was he far enough in front of Heidfeld and Raikkonen to
Yes.
stay in front
Yes,
of
he
him?
came back out in 5th place to Hackney. Although that was a bit of a strategic blunder to run him that short on fuel. Oops. Olivier Panis also with a splash and go.
Ooh, and also some smoke.
Now that's interesting because we saw Panis get out of his car.
Oh, he's returning to the race.
Curious.
Yeah.
Curiouser and curiouser, said Alice.
I was not testing for Spa and Monza or in Indianapolis, given the the downforce settings we're going to be seeing at those places.
Spa, I think, is going to be a tremendous race in 2 weeks' time because we've got the BMW power, but you still need a lot of handling there. The Michelin tires would probably be good, although up there in the Ardennes forest it can be cool, and of course it can be damp, which at the moment is not in Michelin's favour, but I'm sure that situation won't be lasting for long. So that race at Spa in a couple of weeks could be just a tremendous barn burner with the huge power of the BMW and the handling, the awesome handling of the McLarens and the Ferraris. Could be a terrific race.
I'll tell you what, Spa is an awesome place even when there's not a single car moving. During our recent Tour de France coverage on OLN, it forced me to miss the last 2 Grands Prix. We went through the Ardennes forest of Belgium, and I made a side trip, a pilgrimage, if you will, to Spa. And just stood at the top of the hill and looked down the Kemmel Strait and thought about what's coming up in 2 weeks.
Rubens Barrichello's put a little bit of daylight between himself and David Coulthard as they work their way through that traffic.
David, you mentioned the possibility of the Michelin tire not running that well in the rain. Michelin's been very fortunate that there's been very little rain during this season.
Well, they've either been fortunate or unfortunate. They can't do any development. Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, they have been fortunate, but it won't take Michelin long to get up to speed, I'm absolutely sure, because their wet weather performance on their road tires, of course, their street tires, is pretty well unparalleled.
Exemplary.
Exemplary. Especially when conditions are somewhat occluded to the point where precipitation should take place.
I'm guessing Olivier Panis took 1 lap and thought, no, I was wrong. I was right the first time.
Right the first time.
It's broken.
Put it back in the garage, yeah.
That brings us back to 12 cars remaining in the race. Says David Coulthard.
It's quite that pit stop. Old Harkin still 20 seconds in front of Heidfeld, which, again, I'm not quite sure how that happened. Heidfeld and Raikkonen at one stage were right up there, although Heidfeld is still going to get a point. Massive crowd going to have to find its way out of here on just a couple of very narrow roads before they get to the freeway back to Budapest.
It is a massive crowd. First time we came here back in 1986, the hillsides were absolutely covered. And downtown Budapest was amazing. The streets outside the key hotels used by the Formula One fraternity absolutely packed with people at all hours. Of course, the teams and sponsors rolled out their show cars. People were just jaw-dropping, awed by the technology and the color and the spectacle of Formula One.
Which, of course, they would have been, because if you remember, most of the cars on the streets then were those Trabants.
Oh, yeah,
those
the cardboard
cars.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the hammer and sickle was flying over the government building.
Red stars everywhere, yeah. I remember looking out on Roosevelt Square as all those gray Trabants were crawling around, and one beautiful red Ferrari F50 kind of made its way into the flow like a queen bee among all the drones. It was just spectacular. Guy drove it up to the valet, tossed him the keys. I'm sure the kid hadn't the faintest idea what to do with it. I'm going to leave it right there, thank you.
Of course, talking about Budapest, there's going to be some celebrating tonight, I would think. With just 1.5 laps to go now for Michael Schumacher before he assumes his 4th World Championship. There's knowing these Formula One, these modern Formula One drivers, you probably just get straight to private jet and go home. But hopefully there'll be some celebrating tonight.
Dinner cruise on the Danube at the very least. Something with a little paprika.
Yeah, there'll be some paprika, stuffed goose liver, and of course the music, the gypsy music everywhere.
The great crossroads of Europe. So many cultures contributing to the mix in Old Budapest. And very good value for the American dollar right now as well. Final lap for Michael Schumacher as he takes one further step into the Formula One history books. With laps led, and perhaps most important, his fourth World Championship, and a tie with Alain Prost for the all-time lead in victories with his 51st. If any further proof were needed that Michael Schumacher is the best of his generation, here it is.
It's great that he got this win, this title-clinching win, in a day where he was so convincingly superior to everyone. It's fabulous. He didn't inherit it. He didn't come upon the title with a second or third place. He came on it with a win, a decisive one.
In a way, it's a shame that the next race isn't the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Could you imagine the turnout?
Absolutely awesome. It'll be pretty awesome there anyway. And of course, that might be a race where the Williams really shine at Monza with those long straights and the highest lap speed in Formula One at the moment, over 155 miles an hour.
Oh, there's so much still to race for, both in the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championships. Not going to want to miss a step of the final 4 races of the Formula One season, including the U.S. Grand Prix at Indianapolis. But today, it's about Michael Schumacher and Ferrari. Rubens Barrichello holds on to second place. David Coulthard finishes a very honorable third. Unofficially, Ralf Schumacher fourth, Mika Häkkinen fifth, and Nick Heidfeld, the sixth and final points-paying finish for the Sauber team.
So, third Constructors' Championship in a row for the Ferrari factory there. You got John Todd shaking everybody's hand on the podium, on the in their pits. And, of course, the fourth World Championship for Michael.
All of the work, all of the effort through the off-season, all of the daily testing, the aero programs, the engine dyno work, and, of course, all of the mileage put in by the drivers on the off days when the crowds are not there and the family is waiting at home. When it's cold and when it's windy and when it's raining and when it snows. Just for a moment like this.
Mika Häkkinen coming in fifth.
Should be an interesting park for May and a very interesting podium ceremony to be followed by the interviews. We'll stay with you right to the podium now.
Mika Häkkinen said yesterday in one of his press notes that the McLaren team and car has got to get better. Well, fifth today for him, winner in the last 2 years. That is definitely not better. Great photo up there as the two Ferraris go around side by side.
Michael Schumacher just radioed to the pits and told his boys, "I love you all." He may not think this championship is as important as the one he won last year, bringing it back to Ferrari, but I think it's going to be pretty special as he joins Alberto Ascari as a back-to-back Ferrari world champion.
And of course he knows it's going to get very difficult next year because that Williams BMW Michelin shod car is going to be very tough. It's certainly going to be a massive duke it out next year between 3 teams, not just the 2.
And speaking of 3 teams, they are also the 3 leaders in 1-2 finishes. Ferraris today gives them their 52nd. By far the leader. McLaren second with 39 1-2s and Williams third with 30. Just another dominating performance by Michael Schumacher. In the distance, the village of Mogorod. See, well, you could just a moment ago. Tremendous altitude difference between the front straightaway and the rest of the racetrack as it makes its way down into Three Springs Valley. Nice slow victory lap savored by the Ferrari teammates.
Great day for Rubens Barrichello because it is a wonderful day for Ferrari and the fact that he can participate in it. He got his job done.
Absolutely, he did get his job done.
He said after qualifying, if I can win the race and Michael can win the championship, it'll be a great day for us. He didn't quite get that, but he did drive courageously to finish second to his team leader. And it's appropriate, I suppose, that Michael Schumacher clinched his world championship with a victory.
That's a great shot. A good day, another very good day for Bridgestone tyres, and they need some good days at the moment with some of the troubles that's facing them. And so this is going to be a great opportunity for them as well, winning the World Championship, Formula One World Championship with Ferrari. They certainly have responded to the challenge of Michelin. They've come out with some tremendous tyres this year, Bridgestone. There's no doubt about it.
I don't think any team has ever worked harder or longer than the Ferrari squad in the last 5 years. They've really set a new level.
Well, all the drivers will say it. They have simply raised the bar. Now it's up to us. Ralf Schumacher congratulating his brother. Ruben Barrichello joins the queue. Mika Häkkinen to the right.
Häkkinen's coming in there. He wants a
little hug, too. Don't forget me. Handheld camera action there.
As the gate is slammed on our camera.
Yeah.
Welcome to Formula One.
Kind of neat. It's like being there.
Oh, the excitement there in that Ferrari team, and Michael himself, he says that, you know, these records will come to him and he'll accept them, but I mean, I just can't believe it. He just doesn't feel unbelievable at the moment. 4 world championships.
Last year they brought out the dreadful purple wigs to celebrate their championship. I certainly hope there'll be no repetition of that.
Is that Charlie Whiting? No, it's not Charlie Whiting.
It's Herbie Blash.
Herbie Blash, right.
Who has the unenviable job of reminding Michael that he has to make his way to the weigh-in. There's probably a juicy fine involved if Michael's not there by a certain point on the clock. And then, of course, to the podium and then to the interview room. Remember last year at Monza when Michael was overcome by the moment. He is not a man completely without emotion. It'll be interesting to see how much he displays here.
You think it's matter of fact for Ferrari. They've won so much in the last couple of years. It isn't. It's never a matter of fact when you win a world championship.
And the fact is that the key man in all that has been Michael Schumacher. He really got that team straightened out. Jean Todt was already there, but Michael brought in his own men, Ross Brawn and Rory Byrne, on the designing and the strategic side. And he has really built this team up in an amazing fashion, just like he did with Benetton. I mean, when he went to drive for Benetton, there was certainly no great shakes. And within a year, he won him 2 world championships in '94 and '5, just straight up.
And when he left Benetton, interestingly, Jean Alesi basically took his place and could do nothing with a car that Ross Brawn, who stayed on to engineer it, said was better than the car that they had the year before when Michael won the championship, winning 9 races.
Exactly. None of his co-drivers could do anything with the car and always blamed him in some obscure fashion, but he certainly has made a mark on modern auto racing. Not just from his amazing driving skills, but obviously has great managing and personnel skills as well.
And commitment.
Yeah.
Well, Niki Lauda always said the secret to success was making a team your own. Michael Schumacher is certainly a master at that.
Every great driver of the last few generations has raised the bar in terms of personal involvement and effort. I wonder how you can go beyond Michael Schumacher. What can be done more than he has done?
Well, maybe you don't surpass him. You equal the effort and the attention he gives to his craft. I've always thought that the relationship between a mechanic and the driver was crucial. And a mechanic will always, even if it's just unconsciously, give that little bit of extra effort if he knows that the creation he turns over to the driver is going to be used up in the biggest possible way, that the driver will take the car and really do something with it. This is Michael Schumacher's 32nd win as a Ferrari driver. And those mechanics have to know, as the mechanics knew about Senna or Mansell or Prost or any of the greats, that he was going to get everything out of it and was more than likely going to pull it apart for May.
Steve Matchett, who worked with him at Benetton, has said that, hasn't he, all the time, that, everybody just, you do give 110% effort because you know it's going to be reciprocated.
None of this arrive and drive and then hop on the plane and disappear.
Yeah, when things aren't going right, you Like Eddie Irvine, the way he constantly slams the team and the car and everything else. Let's do something about it then. You don't just badmouth it, do something.
Talk about professionalism and success. That little fellow is Jean Todt, the Ferrari not technical, but sporting director, the man who has simply revamped Ferrari, reinvented it, along with Luca de Montezemolo from the Fiat Empire. He now has his 3rd straight Constructors' Championship, 8 years after arriving and finding a team in complete disarray.
And they're talking about him as a replacement for Bernie Ecclestone, should Bernie ever step down. That's how much he's respected.
The lady in the white shirt is Corinna, Michael Schumacher's wife. Look at the fans. Look at all the Ferrari flags among them. Is there any doubt this is one of the best-known corporate logos in the universe?
Well, next to the Speed Vision logo.
Of course. This is taking a long time before the podium ceremony. I know Michael was late getting to the weigh-in.
I think there's a lot of emotion going on. They're just not.
A lot of autographs this time.
Here they come. A huge rush to get up there.
Here we go. The trademark leap.
Well, David Coulthard's got to be asking himself the question now, will I ever win the World Championship?
Well, I think we have the answer to the question I posed earlier as to whether or not Michael Schumacher would be emotional when the success that he has now achieved is fully realized.
Towards the end of his own national anthem there, it obviously just hit him like a bolt out of the blue, didn't it? I mean, he just went into a tremendous...
And there's nowhere to hide.
And there's nowhere to hide up there, is there? No.
Should be a very interesting interview session. Rubens Barrichello has performed very honorably for the Ferrari team. There is Jean Todt, who made it to the podium after all. Maybe that was the holdup. He accepted congratulations. No doubt at least one phone call over the cell phone from Italy.
And Timothy Coulthard, third place. The trophy presented by Mr. Attila Benjak, President of the MNASZ.
Bob Constanduros, the English language public address announcer, having a little bit of problem there with the Hungarian names.
Yes, I'm not surprised.
Congratulations to all of the drivers, the 3 drivers on the rostrum.
Now the champagne.
And if I was you with a suit, I would be leading the podium ASAP.
Jean Todt's going to get it. What a career for Jean Todt.
Wow,
Took
he
Peugeot
really
to
took
victory
it
at Le
ahead.
Mans in successive years. Now Ferrari.
Poor old David Coulthard, someone out of the cold here.
Well, I guess.
Todd knows what to do. Clinch.
Yeah,
He's
right.
been studying boxing for him.
Get in close.
Getting close. Yeah, you're right. Coulthard is a little left out. Well,
Well.
time for a few heavy swigs.
Poor old John Todd.
Hope he's not wearing contact lenses. All right, we'll take a little break and see what adventure lies in store in the interview room as Michael Schumacher, one of the best of all time, greets his public. Welcome back live to the Hungaroring. I guess the interviews are going to have to wait because Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, and Jean Todt do not want to leave.
Good old British group there, Queen, singing We Are the Champions.
Well, there's that fellow who's always singing
Singing the national
lustily
anthem.
along with the Italian national anthem. Happy days for Ferrari. Now, this is Michael Schumacher's 7th victory of the year. So with 4 races to go, the all-time record for victories in a season might also be his. The record is 9, shared by Nigel Mansell, who did it in '92. And Michael Schumacher, who's done it twice in 1995 and last year. So it's not out of the question that Michael could pick up at least his 10th. These are some of the highlights of the day here at the Hungaroring. You just saw Jean Alesi. This was that great battle between Schumacher and Hakkinen.
Heidfeld, who did so well.
Another great battle. Rubens Barrichello and David Coulthard. And of course, Michael Schumacher.
Who just never seemed to be pressed at all and never seemed to even slide the car unexpectedly.
No,
did he?
I mean, he looked smooth right from the drop of the flag. I can't believe how he controlled himself that first, 7 or 8 laps, and then suddenly just rocketed off.
It's kind of remarkable, too, because he supposedly likes so much front brake on the car, so much on the nose, that you think the back end would get away from him more often, but it just rarely seems to.
It just never seems to, exactly. That'll give him now
And
cool
it's welcome to the top
772
Hungarian
points.
Grand Prix 2001. It's Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, and David Coulthard. Michael, many congratulations. Your 7th win this season, your 51st win overall, equaling the record, but most importantly, your 4th World Championship. How do you feel?
I was talking to the team during the long lap we did, the slow lap we did, and I was always trying to find the right words. And in such a moment, I'm probably not a bad racing driver, but I'm quite a bad person in finding the right words in such moments. So you have to forgive me. I can't say much more than it has been a beautiful weekend. I mean, we did everything we could have done. I came here with not such a good feeling for whatever reason. I told to Jean, I'm not sure this weekend is going to be the one it will happen. And then we got pole position. We got the victory. I did obviously equalize 51 with Alan, and I got my 4th championship. So it's a bit too much for me right now to take it, and I simply want to say that it's a great achievement, but the way it has been done is what makes me feeling so fantastic, because the team around us, Rubens, myself, you can't believe how wonderful the guys are. How much we stick together in good times, in bad times, and particularly in bad times. And sometimes we had them as well. And we have such a great crew. I mean, such a good team. I'm really in love with all of them, and it makes so much fun to work with them. It's their achievement, and I'm more than thankful to all of them.
This obviously being the 4th World Championship is early, but how do you feel it compares to the other 3?
You always ask about comparison. I don't think that matters, actually. I simply want to enjoy that, and each one is different, and each victory feels different. It's always something special to win a Grand Prix, to win a championship even more. So that's what counts.
Thank you, Michael. Rubens, you pushed very hard all day to make sure you got that 2nd place, which secures the Constructors' Championship for Ferrari. You must be very proud of your season.
I am after everything, all people say. I think I'm having a wonderful season. And it's not because I'm beside him, but I'm, really proud to to be his teammate and be part of the party. After all, I think it's a fantastic party. It's a fantastic achievement, and you know, I think it's not just coincidence that when I joined the team, we won the whole time. So it's something. And I think the team deserve and Michael deserved, so really proud to be within them.
Thank you.
Talking for a moment about the actual race, were you firstly surprised when David was ahead of you after the first pit stop, and then surprised at the second pit stop when you got back ahead again?
To be honest, I had mixed emotions. I mean, the first one I was so disappointed, and the second one I was so happy. I couldn't believe myself. I mean, I think it's the same with him, with DC, but just the opposite. Fortunately for me, it worked out. I had a wonderful start. The first set of tires was a bit difficult to drive, so he was very close to me. I think he had a better lap in or a better pit stop, so he caught me there. And then I was driving really fast to beat him on the second one, and I was able to do a really quick outlap and be able to be in front of him. So I'm really happy for that.
Well done, thank you, Rubens. David, you tried so hard today to keep the championship alive for another race, but in the end it wasn't to be. Perhaps you can talk us through your race.
Well, obviously at the start, being on the inside seemed to be a disadvantage because Rubens was able to pass me quite easily. And Michael opened up quite a gap as we went down to turn one. So I knew it was going to be difficult from there. The fact that I was able to maintain the gap to Rubens made me realise there was a chance at the pit stops. And with the fuel we were carrying, I felt reasonably comfortable that you'd have to pit before me. And, really pretty much just the opposite of what Rubens is saying. Then obviously in that middle stint I was struggling a little bit more with the tyres. It wasn't a new set. And not sure at the moment what part of the in lap, the pit stop or the out lap. Well, it wasn't the out lap because he passed me before the first corner, but certainly something there cost me a little bit of time. But in reality, it was second place was the best that could be achieved today, and obviously today is about Michael's title and his win, and obviously I congratulate him on that achievement. And recommend he takes a holiday for the last 4 Grand Prix.
I say last 4 Grand Prix, you're in a 3-way battle for second place in the championship with Rubens and Ralph. How important is it to you to come second overall?
You know, really, I don't feel any emotion for finishing second. I only want to win. It makes no difference to me, really, whether I'm second, third, fourth, whatever it happens to be. What's important is how I perform in each of the individual races, and providing I know I've given 100% effort from myself, which I know isn't always the case, but that's obviously the goal, is to try and achieve that. Then I can't do more than that, and it's not just your individual performance that decides where you finish in a championship.
Hi, David. So, Michael, is there a big party tonight?
Nothing is set up, but I'm sure we're good in improvising or we will find something. I'm pretty sure we will see what it will be, but it's going to be quite wet, I think. And
will you and Rubens be singing again?
Sorry?
And will you and Rubens be singing again?
We just had a little warm-up before we came here on the podium, so yes, there will be a lot of singing tonight.
Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. Congratulations again to Michael and to the Ferrari team. And now
yes,
a word from...
I would imagine there'll be a little singing hither and yon, perhaps in Italy, perhaps in Germany, perhaps here in America. We'll be right back.
Very emotional post-race situation. Let's go now and take a look at the race recap, beginning with the results.
Well, Michael Schumacher, what more can we say? His 51st Formula One victory ties him with Alain Prost. It'll be interesting to hear what the professor has to say when Schumacher, perhaps inevitably, takes that record away from him in the near future.
Rubens Barrichello certainly being a great team driver there, making another Ferrari 1-2. David Coulthard tried his hardest all day long, but as he said there in that interview, just couldn't quite make it. Ralf Schumacher, another strong showing there on a circuit where they weren't expected to do well, and of course Mika Hakkinen drove his heart out as well, but had those 3 stops there, and both the Saubers Raikkonen there in 7th and Heidfeld in 6th, doing very, very well again.
Jack Villeneuve came home 9th for BAR. Jean Alesi, a good performance in the unfamiliar Jordan in 10th. Further back, we start to see the cars out of the race. A lot of attrition. Virtually half the field did not live to see the checkered flag here in Hungary. And Eddie Irvine, perhaps the most bitterly disappointed of all, as his Jaguar was thrown off the track and out of the race at the very first corner.
Let's take a look at the drivers' point standings. Of course, what you see on top is the clinching of his 4th World Championship. Michael Schumacher today on top, basically, of the world of racing, really.
And then the next 3, Coulthard, Barrichello and Schumacher. Schumacher could make big strides over the next 3 races. I'm sure Ralph Schumacher, that is.
Kind of felt for David Coulthard, hearing him talk about the disappointment of 2nd place. Once again, it's kind of tough for as good a driver as Coulthard is, driving inevitably in the shadow of Michael Schumacher.
And of course, he's right, you know. It's a funny thing about racing. Everybody says, where did you come? You say I came 2nd or 3rd. And they say, it's great, wasn't it? It just doesn't really mean anything.
Ferrari clinches the Constructors' Championship for the 3rd straight year, but as I said earlier, there's still an awful lot to race for beginning in 2 weeks in Spa. We'll be back.
Coming up in 2 weeks on Speed Vision, it's the Belgian Grand Prix, and we will have same-day coverage of Friday's practice sessions at 8 p.m. Eastern and 9 Pacific, and that'll be on Friday, August 31st. We'll also have live coverage of qualifying on Saturday, September 1st at 7 a.m. Eastern, and the race at 7:30 a.m. Eastern on the 2nd. Now let's take a look at some of the highlights of last year's race at Spa.
Sam, it always seems to rain somewhere on the course at Spa, and it did last year at the start-finish line. Mika Hakkinen led Jarno Trulli and Jenson Button. On lap 4, Michael Schumacher passes Trulli for 2nd. Button tries to get through and spins the yellow Jordan. The Italian was done for the day.
And as well as Hakkinen spun here while he was leading the race. As you can see, the track started to dry out, but still a bit damp. And that allowed Michael Schumacher to scoot through into the lead. Hakkinen very lucky to be unscathed, which of course stood him in good stead later on in the race as we came up for this huge pass and couldn't make it.
Oh, at the high-speed Kemmel Straight heading into Lacombe. Couldn't get it done, could Mika Hakkinen, but the Finn would not be denied. Once again up the Kemmel Straight, this time with the slower car of Ricardo Zonta out front. Hakkinen faked one way, went the other way, and pulled off the pass of the year. Both Schumacher and Zonta absolutely awestruck at the Finn's audacity.
Particularly Zonta, I would think, because Michael Schumacher thought he got it covered. He feinted to the right to block. Ricardo Zonta luckily did not go to his right, and Mika Hakkinen slid down to the gap and took the lead up there at Lacombe. A terrific pass, the pass of the year, of course.
Hakkinen went on to the victory with Schumacher in close attendance. We expect that kind of action and more in 2 weeks in Belgium. Join us then. We'll be back.
Welcome back. This year's Hungarian Grand Prix, thought to be a mere interlude between the high-speed action at Hockenheim and Spa coming up, has turned out to have enormous emotional impact. Michael Schumacher has won his 4th championship. As you see him there celebrating in the car, we thought, based on what he had said, it really wasn't going to mean that much to him. I think, frankly, gentlemen, it's blindsided him how much it really has meant to him. We've seen tears up on the podium and a very strong reaction in the interview.
I think you have to give him credit too. The fact he said, well, I guess I'm not a bad racing driver, but I'm not very good with words. And I mean, it is. I mean, what do you say when you've just won your 4th world championship and so much effort's gone into it by so many people? It is a difficult thing to describe or speak about.
Well, think of the men he's leaving behind in the record books. Jackie Stewart, Alain Prost is now tied. Nelson Piquet, Ayrton Senna, Sir Jack Brabham,
Jimmy Clark,
Jim Clark. I mean, it's difficult when you're in the moment, I suppose, to assess from a historical perspective. But as I used to say about Ayrton Senna, there's going to come a time when we're going to be glad to say we were there to watch him perform. And I'll say the same thing now about Michael Schumacher. We're going to be glad to say one day we watched him. We'll be back.
And now it's time for a segment we call Pump Up the Volume, the best sounds from today's race.
Vision's coverage of Formula One is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at mbusa.com.
And now, once again, the results of today's Hungarian Grand Prix.
Well, Michael Schumacher's 51st win, his 4th World Championship. Rubens Barrichello in 2nd place. Pretty much a perfect weekend for Ferrari. David Coulthard 3rd. Saw the rest of the points positions, and there is still a lot to be decided this year.
Kimi Räikkönen up there in 7th spot, still having a pretty good run. Everybody on this page was, in fact, out of the race.
Well, it's time now for the Toyota key move of the race. David?
Well, it really was all down to the start. Michael Schumacher made a perfect start, as did Rubens Barrichello. David Coulthard on the dirty line, couldn't get off quite as quickly, and the Ferraris assumed the position 1 and 2 that they were in fact to end up with at the end of the race.
You can see how close it
on
was.
board here with David Coulthard.
You could see how close it was. He saw Michael Schumacher getting away, and when he looked over at the middle of the track, there was Barrichello pretty much slamming the door on Coulthard.
Well, gentlemen, that about wraps up our coverage of the Hungarian Grand Prix. In 2 weeks, our coverage of the Belgian Grand Prix begins with Friday practice, followed by live coverage of qualifying and the race. For more Formula One information throughout the week and all the racing news, log on to speedvision.com. In Hungary, Michael Schumacher's 4th World Championship. I'm Sam Posey for Bob Varsha, David Hobbs, and Peter Windsor. See you in 2 weeks.